everybody, welcome back to the semi-complete guide to PyQt6. In this video, we are going to talk about adding style. Yeah, you probably noticed that this app I'm doing here has some fonts that you don't see on your apps, using different colors, things like that. So that's what I'd like to go over this time. So we're going to look at how to add fonts, how to adjust the size of fonts, how to add colors, using style sheets and things like that. I think this would be very helpful. So let's go ahead and take a look at last week's or the last video's challenge. I say it was last week. It was a week ago for me, but for you, it might have just been an hour ago or a day or a month. So let's go to our project in VS Code, and we're on the title screen right here. Depending on where you're at, make sure you've committed all changes from last week. And one of the things I recommend you do is check out main. Check to see if you have the app with style. If you have that file in there, great. If not, you're going to want to do a git pull origin main, and you're going to want to get that available, because this is going to be the project we're going to work on today's video. And really, it's the solution to the spin boxes that we did on the last video. In other words, you can go ahead and follow along with me on app with style, or you can work on your solution to the spin boxes. Either one is fine. Just make sure that you have app with style if you want to use it, and that you check out your learning branch. And if your learning branch doesn't have app with style, that you do a git merge main when you're on the solution branch, and it should pull it in and you should be fine. Let's go ahead and start working on the app with style. Let's run it in debug mode. So we're going to hit run and debug, get it open. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to modify the fonts, okay? And so what we're going to do here is we're going to add an import statement. So we're going to import, actually I got to do a from, it's from PyQt6. I'm just going to go down here, .qt GUI import q font. And then I'm also going to do q font database. We're going to use that in just a bit. Okay, so this will let us modify the font. So go ahead and make sure you get that in there. We're going to go ahead and scroll down here. We're going to set the fonts after I talk about Q font for just a moment. So let's say we want to make our title text larger and maybe change the font style. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to do the title label, just like we have here, and not tip label, title label, dot set font, and we're going to add our Q font. Okay, so in our Q font, we have up to 5 different things that we can add to it. The first thing is the font name. So this should be a system font. Not all will work. So let's just go ahead and try Calibri. Okay, and that's the first part here. And then if I hit a comma, you'll see how it highlights here. The next thing we can give is what's a point size. So how big do we want that font? So let's try putting in 20, for example. And then we're going to add another comma. Wait, okay, so this is going to be whether it's bold or not. And this is going to be an integer. It should be a whole number evenly divisible by 100. So if we were to, for example, do 100 and run it, you will see that it is big, but it's not very bold. And then we can keep scaling this up. Let's try 400, redo. 400, it's getting a little more bold, and you should be able to go all the way up to 800, possibly 900, but I don't know if that would make a difference. I think 800 is what I'm used to going up to. And there it is, nice, thick, and bold. All right, looking at this font, I don't know if we've really changed it. So let's see what else we have available. Let's try Courier, because I know that's wildly different. I'm going to go ahead and run it. So Courier does look different. Okay, so it does accept other fonts. Let's try Helvetica. We'll try a couple more. I don't know if this is any different than Calibri. So let's do a little experiment. I'm going to take a picture of this. I'm going to use my snipping tool right here and take a picture of it and just see if we can see any difference in our app. So there's tip calculator there. I'll move that to the side. And now let's go back to Calibri. and try rerunning that, and then we'll compare the two side by side and see if we can see any kind of a difference. You want to look at the way the A is styled, the T, the R. I'm not 100%. I don't think anything's really changed. So that's the thing, is you could literally go in here and make up your own font name like Fremulon and hit redo here and take a look. Doesn't break, but it looks pretty much the same. So you only have so many fonts. So we're going to want to go ahead and add some more. We're going to add some fonts. We'll do that next. But first of all, let me just do a little recap. This is the point size. I believe default should be around 12. Should be normal size. Let's see how that looks. And then actually that looks a little bigger than the rest of it. So just you can play around with these. 20 is not bad. And then remember, this is the amount of bold. Even 100, 200, up to 800. Don't do anything beyond that. It may accept it. I just don't know if it breaks it or not. Feel free to experiment with that. Another thing you have available here. Whoa, let's go back to the 800. I'm going to do a comma here. Italic is Boolean. So if I say true, it will be italic. And then if I do a comma, you'll see there's nothing. So this is it. You got these different items here. Let's hit refresh, and we can see that this is italic. All right, I'm going to set that back to false. Actually, I'm just going to get rid of it. By default, you can just start deleting some of these and testing them out. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, because our fonts are somewhat limited, let me show you what you can do to really make your app look a lot better. And that is to use embedded fonts. And you can bring in your own fonts and have them available for anyone who's running your app. Let me show you how. The first thing we'll do is, let me just code it in fast motion for you. But before I do, let's go take a look. We're going to need to actually find our fonts ahead of time, because a lot of the work you're going to see me do is actually downloading the fonts and adding them into a folder and bringing them in. So a good place to go find fonts is fonts.google.com. And if you have another place to go, that's great. I will say, if you look here on Google Fonts, some of these will say that they are variable. If it says variable, I don't think it's going to work. I think you need to find a true type font. So that is one thing you're going to want to look at. Okay, so here's a font, Bebas Neue, which I think would be a really good one. I'm going to click Get Font, and then I'm going to want to download all. Okay, so this is going to download a zip folder, and what we're going to want to do is we're going to extract this folder into our project folder. So you want to make sure you know where your project folder happens to be, or the other way you could do it is you can go into your project. You could open up a folder, for example, like here's where the widgets are, and there's one called resources, and guess what? There's already a folder here for fonts, and there's already Titanium Web installed for you, so you can use that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, and I'm going to open Reveal in File Explorer. So when I go to extract it, I can actually put it into the fonts folder, my other font. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and you're welcome if you want to do something a little different. So I'm going to go open this folder here. I'm going to right click. I'm going to choose Extract All. I recommend that when you do that, you just extract it. It'll open it into a folder, and I would keep the text here, and so I would just copy both of these, copy that, and then you're just going to drop it into your other folder that you have open here. You'll notice that the Titanium font is Titanium has a lot of different variations of it. So I'm just going to replace it. That's just the license. Apparently it's for that license is, I'm guessing, the same thing. So you don't need to actually bring that in because you already have one in there. So anyway, if you have something like this, you're just going to put it into your Guide to PyQt6 Resources Fonts folder. Just drop it right in there. From here, we can do the rest. This part now will be in fast motion. As you can see, when running the app, it actually worked. So here we go, Bebas New Way. All right, so here's what we did. We were able to just create the method, call it set fonts. We jumped down here, we added our code. And by the way, you can look at the title screen and get all this code. It's very similar. So we imported the fonts, and I just broke it up, the font directory, the title font name, so that we could, if there was a problem, name it that way. We created a path, and then so what we do is we create this variable called success. And if success is just we're going to try to add this application font, and this QFont database, if it's unsuccessful, it returns a -1. So what we're saying is if success is equal to -1, then we're going to print this out. Okay, so let's say we're going to add some code here. We're going to hit refresh, and you'll notice down here it says Bebas blah 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 not loaded. That's because, of course, that is the wrong title. And so that way you get a little check to make sure things are working okay. And then you could log that if that was an issue. So we only just say, hey, it was -1, we print not loaded. So I added another comment here that you can add another font if you're interested in doing that. So you see the how we did it here. And then you wouldn't need to set the font directory again. You would just create a different font name and a different font path. And then I would just look at the code there. And that's it. Once we did that, then on our Q font, we now have access to the name Bebas New Way. Notice there's a space around it. So if you go back and you're looking after downloading it, you want to make sure that you name it the way you see it in here. And so right here, notice you have to put quotes around it. Then there was a space in it, so we did it exactly as it was listed on that website. Okay, so for the next part, we're going to add styles. We're going to do this by creating a style sheet that we're going to import into our project and allow our app with style to customize the various widgets that are in there. But let's do it in fast motion, then I will explain what I'm doing. Okay, so we're done, or shall I say mostly done. We're on the style sheet. So let's just walk through all the different things that we did, and just in whatever order. So you should have a style sheet. You name it .qss for like PyQ style sheet, Q style sheet. Anyway, you name it, you put it somewhere where you can find it. Now we had to load it, and we'll come back and look at that in a moment. So if you look at app with style and you scroll to the very bottom, you'll see us loading the style sheet. So basically, we just want to get the code from this style sheet into the app. So what we do is, this is the standard way to get contents from a file, is you're going to need a string version of the path to the file. So we call it styles path. And then I created the style sheet, set it to none. And the reason why is if I don't, this is inside of this with open. If there's an issue, there could be some kind of weird break. But either way, I start by just declaring this as being nothing yet, but I just reserve it that, hey, there's a style sheet coming. And then with the open styles path, then you have to put this R for read only, and we're going to name it F, and that's going to stand for file. So we're going to say the style sheet equals f.read. So when you open using the open function, and you do that, we can now read that file while it's open. And then we're going to take the app and we're going to set its style sheet to be style sheet, which is the contents of the style sheet. So that's how that works. Okay, so we go over to styles. Notice there's this hashtag main container, and then a little bit later hashtag title. Well, this follows the format of CSS. cascading style sheets if you're familiar with web design. And the hashtag is the ID selector. So it means anything that has an ID or a name. So let's say we have main container and we have title. Let's go find those in our app. If you go all the way to the top, we have, let's scroll down. Here it is. We have title label, set object name, and we set that to title. So then when we target title, hashtag title, we can make changes. And then let's just do a control find and see where I did it next. And I guess I did it all the way down to the widget. So we take this widget, which is the Q widget, which becomes the central widget. So you want to style the central widget, and we give it the ID of main container. By giving it the ID, we can now target it. So we changed the background color. Now let's go back and open this up so we can kind of see the end result of what we did. It is not perfect. There is more to be done, but I just wanted to at least point this part out. So here we go. Now we can see there is this margin around the outside. And did you notice when I didn't have it, there was this little issue where it wasn't quite working? So we're probably going to want to do like a resize, and we might want to change it into, once you have everything settled. So you're going to want to wait for that. But if you don't like this border going around the side, what you want to do is you want to get rid of the margins. And so the margins are up towards the top, set content margins. So if you want to get rid of that, I would just delete it or comment it out. I'm going to delete mine. And we're gonna, let's run it in debug so it's a little bit easier each time. There we go, looking much nicer. Okay, so what do we do? All right, let's take a look at the styles that we have here. We can set the background color, we can set the color, padding and spacing around the element, and then we can change the font size. So here's what I did. On the main container, I just set the background color. Now, the syntax here is you select what you want to change, and then you do an open curly bracket, and then you can have one or more declarations. We have a property, in this case background color, then you have a colon, and then you have the value. So in this case, we're using a hexadecimal color code value to represent that color. So that's how we did the background color. Gives it a almost black, but not purely black. We styled our label, we made our color. By the way, this is hexadecimal, and a bunch of E's just means it's a very, very light gray. And then we have a padding, and you want to set sizes in pixels, px. So that's what I did, a padding of 5px, font size of 12px. Now, when I was running it, my title was really small because the title was a label too. So what I wanted to do is make it so the title has a different size, which is why I gave the title the object name of title, so that then I can target it now and make that font size larger with the padding of 5. And as you can see on the app itself, that the title there is bigger. And of course you can adjust the sizes on there, and pretty much everything else is the same. Q push button, background color, color font size. So that's it, and I think that's all the things that we did in our tutorial. And you are welcome to follow along, or I'm going to push these changes into the solutions branch so you can get the solution for this. It will be on the app with style. Now, I do have some challenges I'd like to give you, and let's quickly walk through those. Number one, we go down to the challenge. One thing you can do is select a color palette to style your app. So if you just get online and just do a search for color palette, 1L, 2 T's, color hunt is an example of one you can do. And I took this one and I took this dark color, this color, and the color down here. You just click on any color and you can copy that color code. It's a great way to get that running. Let's go ahead and run it so you can see the color code in action. And so let me just walk you through that. It's kind of nice. You can see it side by side. So you can see how the color blends in there. And then the buttons using this color here. And then the text for all of mine are right there. Color palettes, you just want to make sure that when you do a color palette, you make sure your app colors have high contrast between light and dark. You want people to be able to read your app. And then another good one is to find a font pair that goes well with your app, but it's also readable. So if you just do a little search, I recommend do Google font pairings and then find any one of these links here, and it will show you, if you scroll down, usually it'll show you what two different fonts look like side by side. And if you see one that you like, check to see if they have that font by clicking on it. And there you can see it in here. And it looks like you might even be able to download it. Can I download it from here? Yeah, just clicked on it here. I can click get font and now I can download it. And right now it says, it looks like it has my other fonts too, because it says download all one. Oh no, it says all one. Okay, well there you go. It does say it's variable, so double check. That could be another challenge. See if I was right about variable fonts. Do they not work, or could you get them to work? The last thing I want to talk about is try adding a drop shadow to your title. If you go to the, try adding a drop shadow to your title, to your buttons, anything like that. But if you look at the title screen, there is a function here that I've added called add drop shadow. You just call the function and you pass it the label you want to add your drop shadow to. And then radius will be how big you want that shadow to be. 1 pixel will be a very fine little shadow. 5 pixels bigger. You can change color. It's got to be a string. Anyway, see if you can get the X offset, the Y offset, and see if you can get it to add a drop shadow. By the time you see this video, I might even have a little doc string that explains a little bit more about it. So stay tuned for that. See what you can do. Take these ideas and try them on all of your projects. Try different font pairings and different colors. And thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more.